I am Josefina Bonilla, and this is the Roar webinar series with special guest, Evelyn Brito from the Bodega Makeover. Evelyn, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for having me here. Finally, yay!
Yay! We've been trying to do this for a bit.
Yeah.
So I have a lot of questions, as I always do. Talk to me about how the concept for the Bodega Makeover started.
Oh boy, I'll tell you the short story.
Yes.
Short version. I'll share a short version. So I grew up in bodegas, but let's take it back a little bit because I think it's important for me to start with this because
you said it was a short story. If we
okay, but we got to touch on the important piece though. The important piece. This is good for you too. So I think that like looking at bodegas in general, right? And looking how they started, and they've been here for a very long time. We're looking at like 1940s when Bodega started by Puerto Ricans, right? So you can say like it was like the first generation entrepreneurs for Puerto Ricans. And then back in the 80s, Dominicans came and kind of we made it better. You know what I mean? But,
of course you did. But hold on 1 second. I just wanted to tell you that my dad was a bodeguero.
See?
Yeah,
everybody has a connection with bodegas.
Yes. So
anyway, going back. Going with this started. Your first question. So I grew up with bodegas. My father worked in one. My uncle worked in one. And I sort of grew up in that environment. So when I lived with my mom, a couple of years ago, my daughter was 2 at the time. We had a local bodega that had those access to healthy foods, like fruits and vegetables. And my daughter gravitated to vegetables. So that's all she wanted is cut, raw peppers, tomatoes, and carrots. So, and it took a while for that bodega to get to where they were. And then I moved to a different community, Common Square. And there, I was like, okay, I got to go food shopping. I went to the first bodega, it was nothing. It was full of chips, full of junk food. And then I walked to the second bodega, same thing. And then the third one, I was like, the third one has to be it because it was a little bigger. And they had fruits and vegetables, but it was rotten. And they had a broken refrigerator. So I decided to ask the owner, I'm like, why don't you have a working refrigerator? It's like, oh, it broke, it's a used refrigerator, it's old. It's sort of like the same old stories that I keep hearing from bodegas, like they don't have access to those resources. So I had to take the bus with my daughter to the supermarket, and my ride there, I was like, started thinking, I'm like, somebody should really do something. That bodega needed a makeover. And then that aha moment came, I'm like, oh wait, I'm a filmmaker, I can do it.
So, but bodegas play a pivotal role in community. And that pivotal role is, and I've heard you say this often enough, and I can definitely relate to it with my experience with my dad as a bodeguero. But talk to me, I'm gonna stop saying that. Share your concept around bodegas and how they unite community.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's huge. It's a place where we connect to our culture, right? We get our culturally relevant foods, right? We hear the gossips, we hear the resource if we need, an apartment or, how do we get our green card? We always go to the bodegueros to find those information. So it was a place sort of that connect us all, and if you think Latino as a whole, right? What's that one place that we have in common?
And the place you see everybody. And you said something that was really, I remember hearing you say this, and it was also a safe place for your daughter to wait for the school bus.
Yes. Yep, a safe place for the school bus. And also too, bodegas used to defend us when there was a fight. They would lock the door, like, you're not getting in to beat up this kid. So they were very important. And they still are. They still are very important in the community, especially now more than ever.
And I think with the current movement of companies and individuals supporting smaller bodegas as opposed to the large food chains or the large, because I didn't even realize that a lot of the supermarkets only show the produce that is without a dent or without, what happens to all that other stuff, all that other food?
Waste goes in the wasteland. It's terrible. I mean, I think they can do a better job, and I think slowly they are doing something about that. We're looking at the whole ugly fruit movement, where people are buying like unprofessional food, where they have a little dent or they have, like you said, but they're still good. They still taste the same. But I think that's an ongoing problem, and I think Bodegas has, they have an opportunity to get to do that.
I love the ideas that you have around the series. You're already running doing all the filming, right, for the Bodega Makeover.
Yes. So Bodega Makeover is very similar to Extreme Home Edition, but we don't send anybody to Disney.
Well, yeah.
I know, that's like, hey, you got the free tickets to Disney. You'll come back and have a brand new bodega. Doesn't happen this way. So it's a web series that provides store improvement and healthy eating options. So we actually look at the overall health of the bodega, and we're not coming in as expert. We bring experts to the owner to make sure that he's successful, he or she is successful in the business. Because I think that's important, because once we leave, and film another bodega, we want to make sure that owner is utilizing those resources so they can continue to thrive.
Because I think that's so important, because I think a lot of the bodegueros are really about creating community. And this is kind of a passion for them, having a small storefront so people can come in. There's products from your native land, if you will. But oftentimes, those folks are not getting the training they need in order to be successful business people. And so you're bringing experts to some of this stuff.
Yes, for sure. I mean, and again, some bodegueros have like sort of that own mentality, like I can do it myself. I don't need,
An accountant.
City. Forget it. Yo tengo mi tío aquí, en la esquina. He can do all my finance.
Yeah.
It doesn't work that way. So a lot of bodegueros still have that old mindset, and it's about that educational piece. Like say, hey, look at this bodega, how we transform them, and how it's a potential for your store. And these are the resources that are available to you.
Right, because I think there's not only the finance piece, which is, an accountant can help, but it's also how to make the store more engaging. So there's kind of like the design of the store, which is also important. And even more important in your particular arena is the fact that you're trying to bring healthy options. So how do you educate in terms of what are some other options you can have?
So when it comes to the educational piece, we do a lot of back end work with the bodega. So for example, Roxbury, before we even started looking at design, we looked at demographic in that community and see, okay, what are the changes? There's a lot of construction happening in Roxbury. What are the things people want to see there? So we did a little survey, and we found that a lot of the residents want to-go stuff, that bodega is not offering now. They want to-go sandwiches, salad, soup. And then when we were talking about vegetables or, fruits, they're looking for plantains, the Latinos, the yuca, the cilantro. So sort of the things that we were looking at, and we incorporated that with the design, because we want to make sure the design is practical. The bodega doesn't look fancy, too fancy that people don't want to buy in there.
Exactly. Then it doesn't feel like that homey, welcoming environment. That's what you're enticing people to come and be part of the community.
Exactly. And then more than ever, especially with COVID-19, that people have to be 6 feet apart. And it's really difficult for bodegas because it's a space issue, So we looked at that as well. And we thought, okay, let's bring some of the shelving down. Let's shorten the shelving. Instead of doing 2 units, which are longer and higher, let's just do one lower they will, that bodega probably lost maybe 20% out of their inventory, but they will gain it by doing those, soup, salad, sandwiches, and offering those items.
And I think it's also interesting because inventory plays a key role in this. Mm-hmm. Because if you buy too much, it could go to waste because you don't have the client. You may not have the clientele looking for that particular thing. Right. And the worst thing is, buying for your own taste, instead of buying for your consumer. Mm-hmm. So that's also part of the educational piece.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and I think bodegueros should really pay attention who lives in the community and what they need, because that's one thing you don't want to do is buy a product, where, I went to a bodega in Chelsea, which is, a Central South American community. And when I went in there, they had Dominican bread. And the thing was like very like dusty, like it hasn't been pot for a long time. And I was like, I said, why do you have this Dominican bread? You say, are people buying it? Like, no. I said, well, who usually shop here? Oh, so Central America. I said, so they don't buy that bread. Why don't you get rid of it?
Yeah, exactly.
So that's how important it is. It's like, just because somebody buys it one time, like one Dominican in that community, which is important. But if you're buying a bulk, and that Dominican's only buying one bread a week, it's a waste of money.
Yeah, it's very difficult to get it.
That educational piece of like getting to know who's in your community is very important.
Which is part of marketing, right? Your demographics, who you're appealing to, getting to know your. You did focus groups and you had polls out. What type of products the neighborhood wanted to see in the bodegas. So I think all of that is super important. And
oh yeah, for sure.
It's going to help that bodega be more successful. I want to change gears. I want to talk about the fact that you are on Amazon Prime.
Hey, woo!
That's great news.
Thank you.
What does that mean for people?
I think it means that, broader audience can view it, and then it's a family show. And Amazon is just a great platform for independent filmmakers to reach a wider audience. And, I decided to do that because I feel like maybe Amazon in the future, we can collaborate, sort of helping more of a small business. And that's just me thinking more like the business side of it. But, it's affordable. Everybody's streaming. And the majority of my viewers are sort of millennials. So I did my homework before I posted it on Amazon. Yeah. But yeah, I thought it was just a great show. I think it's a great, I thought it was a great platform for filmmakers.
You had, you're doing the filming now. Mm-hmm. When can we start seeing the first episode of Bodega Makeover?
So we're filming Monday, and it takes about a month and a half to start editing everything. It's probably the end of September.
That's when we'll see it. Well, just in time for Latino Heritage Month.
Yes.
Hispanic Heritage Month. Yeah, so that's perfect.
That's right. I'm gonna make sure that I'm gonna write this down. Work on the marketing angle on that. But yeah, we're pretty excited. It's a lot just being an independent filmmaker and just wearing so many hats.
And it's costly. It's very costly. And you're trying to get people to come in and be part of this without a real big budget.
Yeah, that's definitely a challenge. Yeah, we before the COVID-19, we had a lot of companies just donating a lot of stuff for us. A lot of because we were a sort of a pro bono project for a lot of companies. But now that COVID hit, it's not free anymore.
Right. So what, in terms of things, what are you looking for? What are you hoping that you get from people out there or companies out there? I'm thinking that at a minimum, you need materials, you need labor.
Yes. So we had to start a crowdfunding campaign so we can start covering those costs, the materials, like you said, labor, and we're getting there, but we definitely need the extra push.
And would you be providing a list of some of the things that you need?
Sure, I can do that. I can provide a list of things that we need.
So we're currently live streaming this in Facebook Live. After we record, it's going to be on YouTube, and maybe we can add commentary there in terms of where people can go to the website.
Okay.
To donate or contact you personally in order to help with the project, because I think it's a fantastic, it just, it always brings back good memories. When I was growing up in JP, there was a bodega that the owner of El Oriental de Cuba, which is right there in Center Street in JP, his dad used to have. And we would go there after church. We would walk to the bodega. After school, we would walk to the bodega. And you're right, it was a place that I felt comfortable and I felt safe going to, even by myself.
What are the things that you can say that only a bodega would have?
Only a bodega has coquitos, coffee, the different coffees that we use. So not just, no diss on people that drink Bustelo, but Jaucono, Rico, things that, Puerto Ricans really drink.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my go-to was the pickles in the bag.
Yes.
It was like only good there. And then the oranges, when they used to peel them.
Yes.
Peel up so it can smell, the bodega can smell like oranges. That was my go-to thing. So my mom would
remember all the candies. Candies. But there were candies from Puerto Rico that we were.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I don't know if you got that from your bodegas, that some Dominican candy.
Yes, yeah, we're pretty similar. You guys have the pilon, right? And we have the pilon.
We do.
I think it came from us.
Of course it did. It came from us. We have this rivalry going all the time about Puerto Ricans and Dominicans, and Evelyn constantly brings it up, of course.
You know what? And that's also part of bodegas too, sort of like the debate, where
yes. Or the dominoes. There were always dominoes, right?
Yeah. And they would debate. The Puerto Ricans and Dominicans were constantly debating on things. And at the end, it's like, oh, mañana.
Exactly. All that fighting, and then it was like, that was nothing. We were just talking.
I'll see you tomorrow.
Are you going to put any of that type of flavor in the
for sure.
Series?
Yeah, for sure. We're definitely going to, sort of look at what the vibe of the community.
Evelyn, when I'm trying to think of logically how the series is going to go. Mm-hmm. Is it you chose a bodega, and then how many episodes in the series are you going to have?
So we're looking at 5 episodes in the series. And how we identify bodegas is that we go to the nonprofit organization in that community. So we look at the map and say, okay, these are like the food desert areas in Chicago. And then we connect with those organizations and say, okay, this is who we are, what we're trying to do. And then they tell us, okay, these are the neighborhoods. And then we would do a walk with them and visit some of these bodegas and sort of get to know them.
Are you capturing that on video as you're doing that as well? Not
for
the season.
Yeah, not for this pilot. But yes, when we go visit Chicago, that's the first thing we're going to be doing. Is
for those people that don't know what a food desert is, what is it?
Well, there's 2 things. There's the food desert and the food swamp. So food desert is where you live 2 or 3 miles away from your supermarket, your largest supermarket. There might be a bodega there, but that bodega doesn't carry those, those options.
Okay.
And then the food swamp is where you live in a community where there's too much food, but not the right kind of food. You have Burger King on one end, you have McDonald's, you have Dunkin' Donuts, you have all these fast food restaurants, but you don't have a healthy, there's not an apple in sight.
And I think that, you talked about education. Education is such a big piece of it, right?
Yeah.
Because if you have options between what you just mentioned or Chick-fil-A or whatever the choices are and a salad, sometimes most of us go for the other options unless you're educated into this idea that it's better for you, it's healthier, that's an option, and it's a welcomed option. Then that's when things start shifting, is when it becomes a welcome option for you.
Yeah, you're right. And I think that, like you said, the educational piece, but, it's hard for a lot of families when they have to make that decision, whether, I get a burger that's going to fill me up, or do I get
it costs
salad?
much less. I one of the things I was speaking with somebody about regarding budgets, and they were commenting on why a family would choose to buy orange soda versus juice when they knew what the option was, or the best option, and or water, and I said, if you have a budget of $15 and the juice with no sugar, the best option for you takes 90% of your budget.
Yeah.
You can't buy it. And you have a family of 3 you have to feed. So I think sometimes, that's the reality.
Mm-hmm. It is. And it's not getting any better in bodegas because a lot of those products are very expensive.
Yeah.
Very expensive. It's like looking at $4 per gallon of milk in bodegas, sometimes more.
Right. And if you choose to get organic, then you're talking $6, $6.59. Whereas if you get one that it's milk, but it's not the best choice, it's $1.99 or $2.99, then your budget really kind of determines what your options are.
Yes, for sure. Yeah, and so I think that's why it's so important for us to look at the bodegueros' finance and say, okay, where are you spending your money?
And having more fruits, having more vegetables, more tubers, more of those produce that don't cost that much money, but they're good for you.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. And offer recipes, again, everything's connected. But bodegueros got a long way to go. And we're hoping that this show brings some attention to that and create a movement where, there is a change.
So after this, what's next for you?
After Roxbury, we're looking at Chelsea, Mass.
You also mentioned Chicago.
Yep, Chicago. We're talking to 2 states, Dallas, Texas, and Chicago for 2021. And possibly Philadelphia.
That's a lot. That means you need a crew.
I do need a crew. I need a traveling buddy, yeah.
Yeah, before the show, I told Evelyn that if she needed me to go to Chicago with her, that I would go.
Come on down.
I would go, as long as it's not in the winter. I'm not keen on. I would go to Puerto Rico, so keep that on your radar.
Yes, it's on my list.
I would go to Georgia, all of these in the winter time.
And LA.
Absolutely. Remember when we went to LA?
Yeah. That was fun.
That was fun. We went to the NALIP conference.
Yeah.
It was for producers. You remember?
The National Association of Latinos Independent Producers. A long name.
Yeah, it was. It is a very long name, but it was really a great, that's when you started pitching Bodega Makeover.
Yes. Yes, yes. It was great. And the feedback was they loved the project, but they thought it was too wholesome. Like it was too good. Like there wasn't enough drama.
Yes,
They
yes.
wanted bodegas mixed with telenovela.
Okay.
You want that leche? Oh yeah. Give me a price tag.
Organic? I think that would have been good. I think
that would have been great, right?
Well, I'm excited for you. We have about 5 more minutes before we have to wrap things up.
That was fast.
Yeah, I know it went by fast, but I'm excited for you. I think it's wonderful that you had the passion for something and you've seen it through. You haven't given up on it. And, yesterday we had Ileana Musa talking about goals and goal setting, and that it takes one step and another step and towards that goal. And that's what you've done, is you've taken steps towards it. And I imagine, and I think I heard you say some of this, is it felt like there was no action happening for a bit.
Yeah.
And that might have been stressful for you. Was it?
It was stressful, but it was also, a way for me to rethink and re-strategize. Pivot, new word here, pivot.
Yeah, pivot. You pivoted, right? Because you've actually, what you did was you changed it up.
I did, yeah.
No, before it was not going to be a web series. Before it was going to be kind of something different.
Right.
It was still Bodega Makeover. It was always going to be about looking at the options, food options, creating healthy food options for people that go to bodegas. But you changed it up, and getting on Amazon, I think that was very clever, and it's going to do well. I can't wait to see it on Amazon.
Same here.
So you start filming on Monday.
Yes. For 2 weeks. We're closing the bodega down for close to 3 weeks.
Oof.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
And do you have enough people to help you with the project?
We have half, so we definitely need more.
Volunteer. So if somebody wants to volunteer, what's the best way to reach you? Evelyn at My Bodega Makeover?
Yes, Evelyn at mybodegaMakeover.com, or on the website.
Okay.
A contact list, I can go there.
And what's the website?
At mybodegaMakeover.com.
mybodegaMakeover.com. Super. Well, Evelyn, as always, great to chat with you, and this is exciting. I'm very proud that you are doing this. I'm happy to see looking forward to seeing the final product.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Okay, we'll talk soon. And thank you for being with us.
Bye, everyone.